Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? I'm going to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. Jay Moore here, the healthy accountant, helping you to account for your life. Man, what an awesome and incredible day today. We're going to look at the mysterious force driving our life. And, I took some time this morning, just as I was working out and finishing up, and an idea popped into my head, a thought popped into my head about this particular thing that I want to talk to you about, because it's really important that a lot of times we don't know why we do things. Like a lot of times we don't understand, well, why did I make that decision? Or, why can't I get to this other place that I'm really trying to get to? Guys, this is something I've probably struggled with for a long time. But today we're just going to unpack it, just a little bit, just so that you can start thinking, I can start thinking about what this is, so that literally, we can take back control over the vehicle. So let's jump right into this. So just wanted you to consider, and I'm considering this, so I'm asking you a question, how do you know, what you think about this? How do you know, or what do you know about yourself as to why you make decisions and why you may have chose even, the industry that you're in? Like, what is it? What was the decision, or what was the thing that got embedded in there? Do you even know what that is? Most of us don't know. So I'm going to offer a word. And so the word that I'm using today is perception. I'm using this word perception. Why am I using perception? Perception is, come on now, it's how you see something. Like, you and I could look at the same thing and we could have a totally different description. Like, think about this. I could ask somebody, hey, what do you think about me? Like, what do you know about me? And then one person would say this and one person would say that. And so just think about it. Like, literally, perception is something that is so personal. Another P. It's so personal in our experience right here in this realm that if we don't have a good grasp of our perception, what do you think's going to happen? Like, here's what's going to happen. Your perception is going to be off, and you're going to get down the road. It's going to be 10 years, 20 years. You're going to say, man, what happened? How did I get here? Literally, I can look back. And I know that I'm using this in, with one of my new students. But I can look back and I can see, whoa, my perception was so off that literally the perception that I had about something created blind spots. It created a world of failure. It created a world of hurt. It created a world of bad decisions. It created a world of so many things that when I look, I'm like, so how does a person change, right? If this mysterious perception force is driving your life, I want you to think about this. If it's driving your life, and just think of it like a car. If there was a self-driving car, right, and you were sitting in the back seat, and that car is about to drive off the cliff. It's driving off the cliff. It's self-driving, but you put in the GPS. You said in the GPS, this is where I'm going, but the car is driving off the cliff. Because here's the thing, you programmed and I programmed the car. So because we programmed it, even though we put in, this is where I'd like to go, the car's like, well, based on the programming, this is where we're going, and we're going over the cliff. What does a person do now that you find yourself, you're going over the cliff of life. You're going over this cliff where it's like, man, everything is falling apart. Or I just don't know what to do now. Like I'm in this valley. Check this out. Scripture says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Literally, this perception force is walking you. Your own perception is walking. My own perception is taking me into the valley of the shadow of death, meaning it just means I'm in hard times now. I created hard times for myself. How did I create hard times for myself when no one desires that? I desire riches, I desire prosperity, I desire great health, I desire wealth, I desire all of the good things, great relationships. I desire just an overabundance of everything. I desire all those things. But then when you start adding it up, like, well, okay, the bank account's not where I'd like it to be. My business is not where I'd like it to be. My marriage is okay. I'm just using. I'm not talking specifically about myself. I'm just throwing out things that could happen to people. My marriage is all right. Or I wish I could get married. I can't seem to get married. That seemed to elude me, and I'm 40 or 50 years old. Or I've got kids, and my kids, I would like this for them, but it doesn't seem like they want that. I'm trying to teach them this, trying to teach them certain ways, and it doesn't seem like it's clicking. I'm having a hard time with with my church. It doesn't seem like I'm connecting. There's so many things. There's the man, I'd like to be in better health, and I can't seem because of this thing, because of that thing, then it's probably not going to happen for me. Perception. See, perception is the lens in which we see everything. But here's the thing, that lens that we're looking through, that force that's driving us, here's the interesting part about the force. The force has been programmed. The force is already set up. And you and I, unless you stop, unless I say, you know what, I'm stopping the car. The car's about to go over the cliff. You know what? Bump that. Let me turn off the car. Listen, yes, it was driving automatically. I'm going to turn it off. This is the hardest part for people. I'm going to let you go in a couple minutes because my goal is to get you out here in 10. So here's what's interesting about it. Most people have a hard time stopping the car. They don't want to stop the car because they feel like, man, if I stop the car, then I'm not moving anymore. Man, if I stop what I'm doing, if I stop everything, literally, I've been in the process of stopping. Now, it's nothing like having a force and then you're trying to put the brakes on and it's hard. Like, dude, I've dealt with that in my own business until I got to the point where I found a way to reprogram the thing. And it's kind of like a runaway train, man. What do you do with this runaway train? The runaway train is like, well, are we going to crash? No, you know what? I'm going to put the emergency brake on. So guys, we have to get to a point. If we want to take back control of our life, right? Because our life is not our business. Nope. Business isn't our life. Our life is the overarching thing that guides our business, that develops the business, that makes the business, but our life is not our business. So if we're going to take control over our life and then this mysterious force of perception, we have to then discover, what are my thoughts? What is it that I believe about something? So technically, especially like with business ownership, what do I believe about business ownership? What do I believe about that? Because what I believe about that is going to be the driving force. That's going to be the driving force. So if I don't like the results of where I'm going, then I'm going to stop I'm stopping right now. Well, Jay, what if I got, a lot of moving parts of it? Stop, just stop. I can tell you, I've had to stop. There was a time when I wasn't doing anything, money wasn't coming in as great as I'd like it to be, but I was stopped because I was just like, I got to figure something out here because my perception's off. What I believe, what I'm seeing is not what I'd like. So I got to figure something out here. So the first thing we're going to do is stop the car. We're going to stop. We're not going to do anything. As a close, a few years ago, this is when my kids were still very young. I ran an experiment. It was for a week. And here's the experiment. I ain't talking to nobody. I ain't saying nothing. I closed my mouth. I actually had no conversations with anybody. The only conversation, not limited to these, the only conversations I had were they were business, but they were because I had to, right? I didn't. So if something was already in my calendar, I went ahead and still honored it. But that week, I didn't say anything. And my kids were like, "Dad," they were tripping because I wouldn't talk. I didn't talk for a whole week because I needed to gain perspective. I needed to figure out, like, okay, as great as I can come to the podcast, got all this great stuff coming out, but sometimes I got to shut my like I've been tempted to shut down the podcast for a while. I've been tempted. I haven't gotten the word that I can. Sometimes you got to shut up. And I shut up for that week, just so that I could gain some perspective. Now, I'm not telling you to do that because that was my own perspective of where I was and how I needed to, just kind of get control over my speaking at home and my speaking to the wife and my speaking to my kids, and so that they can see how serious I am about my own life. That's how important it was for me, to really get that drive, to get a hold of my life and say, you know what, my life is just not going to go. It's going to go the direction I decide it will go. So why don't you do this today? Decide the direction of your life. And if you're not already going in that direction, stop the vehicle, stop everything. Then you got to figure out, well, what potentially would keep me from going in that direction that I would like to go. Because if you don't know what that is, then when you get going, it's just going to pull you back over to where it is that you don't want to be. So if that's the case, just stop, think about where you are, think about where it is that you'd like to go. And then you probably got to come up with a new perception of life. Create something brand new. I'm telling you, when you create something brand new, it's going to feel amazing. It's going to feel awesome. So guys, I thank you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant. My job is to help you to account for your life. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.